Yeah. All right. Welcome to Octomoves Member Spotlight. Today we have Karin from Australia. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Karin. So what is on your mind today?
What is on my mind? Oh, you shouldn't ask that. There's always too many things.
Well, let's start from the one.
Well, hmm. Today I was realized because I'm very new at rope flow. Um, I think I joined in October,
Hmm.
and then I had surgery shortly after that. And so then I've returned after having a bit of time off for my surgery. It was just an abdominal surgery. It was kind of straightforward, so nothing, no problems. But then I've come back in now a bit more regularly again, and so I realized today that I hadn't been doing the matador correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I realized that I was wanting to work on the circumnavigation with the matador and the dragon roll.
Hmm.
And I found that, oh, wait a second, I don't really know what I'm doing here. And so then I went back and reviewed the video, and I learned new things. And so that was something that, you know, I just think that's really important to continue reviewing and looking, and then, finding a way to understand what's occurring. Yeah.
So how did you figure out that about the Matador that you don't know it?
Yeah, I decided that what was going on is that I had been um, crossing. I hadn't been able to figure out the cross and the circle, and I'd put them in the wrong order, I think. And then
Or you've been doing like a figure eights, but just
yeah,
crossing eights?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
okay, so it's like missing the circle part.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, where
Okay.
is the circle? I don't get it.
uh,
And then,
so
but watching the video helped me work that through again. Yeah.
so did you film yourself, or how did you figure out that it doesn't look the same?
Yeah, I haven't filmed myself yet doing this stuff. I really should do that. That's like the next step.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't need to post it anywhere. It's just filming to yourself, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you have this great setup that
Yeah.
when I connected to our chat and you've been doing, it's like it's perfect. You just have computer and you can actually film yourself, or even use it as a mirror if you don't have
Yeah.
in front of it.
Mhm.
So this is really helpful, and I see there's nice setup. You have more gadgets. You have a cat somewhere.
Yeah, there's two of them. Yeah. Two rescue
Oh,
cats. They really love rope flow. They have to come and watch. Yeah.
okay. So we watching or we trying to interact?
The cats?
Yeah.
Um, they try and get in underneath, and I have to sort of guide them off, right? Over there, guys. Yeah. And then they stay out of the way. I don't want to hit them, obviously. I
No, of
do enough
course.
hitting of myself. I don't need to hit the cats. Yeah.
But do the cats avoid, or do we get hitten accidentally? How we
Yeah, they're very good about observing where the rope's going and just staying clear. Yeah, they're quite
yes, I
good
think
observationalists.
yeah,
Yeah.
I never had that issue, but with the dogs is different.
Yeah.
Dogs just get under it and get slammed. So yeah, cats are
Yeah, they have
amazing.
a different agenda, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Cats
yeah.
are more careful listeners, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't rush anywhere. We just
Yeah.
like do it so nicely and gracefully. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of lessons to learn from the cats about movement. I
Yeah.
really love these creatures.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too. Yeah.
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 Anything else on your mind?
Oh, well, so then later today, I was working on a module for a dance training that I'm doing. And what had happened is um, the module had rebooted itself to the beginning, and I couldn't go back to where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to start over at the beginning, and I was a little bit bummed out about that, you know. But then once I started over and I was doing the module, I realized, wow, I didn't hear that thing that was just said the last time I watched it, and I didn't pick up on that detail. And all of a sudden, I was realizing I was even wondering, am I even watching the same module? Because I was picking up on so many different things than what I had previously seen. And
Mm-hmm.
it another reminder that repetition is such an important thing to
Yeah.
do, you know,
Well,
repetition.
I guess if we're watching something or reading something, and if we don't mark it or like rewrite it somewhere with our words, or just explain somebody else, it's probably the best what we actually gain is, I guess, 20% or so. I'm
Mm,
just making a number. I'm not sure, but this like 80-20% rule, I think it plays here. And if you rewatching it again, you see different things. It's even if you watch the movie second time after like few months, it's just like a new movie, and you see different details, you catch different jokes or whatever. Like, so especially when we are learning, and if we are learning skill, if there's like explanation, there's like a lot of things are mentioned, it's best if you remember one or two, and what's left of it, it's for the future. At some point you get insight, and it's like, oh, did somebody been mentioned, or and you're rewatching, it's like, okay, now I can actually focus on this part and this part, because these two are nailed down already, so I'm just keep on adding like things and just improving it. So this is like a, for me, when you're learning like really complex skills, such as like a surfing carve or something like that, or even like a handstand, it's a simple stance, I guess. Well, not even a movement, kind of, but there's so much movement involved in every single joint, in every single part of your body, just to keep maintaining the line or shape on your hands. And it's just so much difference if you correcting yourself like from the shoulders or from the wrists. So it's like huge difference.
mm.
And
And it's also on any given day, and we have to remind ourselves this, we're different every day. Every day, we're different from the day before.
yes.
And whatever has occurred in that time period um, is informative. It informs us when we try something again. There's a kind of a consolidation that might occur when you're not doing something that helps you do it again. And that was that was something that I found really interesting in doing this module again, because all of a sudden I was experiencing new things in doing something I'd already done, and learning more and consolidating the old information too as I was processing the new information.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's great.
That's awesome. So Karen, tell me, what's the real challenge here for you?
In rope flow,
Yeah,
you mean? Yeah.
in your practice, basically, we can actually talk bigger about it, but it's about like a physical practice that you. Well, we all know that we need to move every single day, but only just a small fraction of people does that. So, well, in
Yeah.
the Western
Yeah.
world, I guess
Yeah.
we cannot talk about the world at this point.
Well, no, that might be a continuous conversation for years. um, well, I I recently turned 60 years old, and one of the things about that is that you really become aware that there's fewer days ahead than there are behind you.
All right. Yeah, that's a shift in the mindset, I guess. Mm,
And and so, I mean, part of my overall kind of challenge in life is to remain consistent and
mhm,
continually, be involved in a process. And so sometimes that process is ever evolving because maybe that process is a two-dimensional something I'm working on, or it could be a dance project I'm in, and then that's part of the process.
mhm,
But independent of that, I like to have a movement practice that's just for me. A lot of my work that I do involves tremendous amounts of listening. So listening to other people, listening to other people speak, listening to the things that are going on for them. Or I work with very small children, so there's a great deal of listening in that environment. And
mhm.
so sometimes what happens is I spend so much time receiving from others that I don't have anything left for me, to fill up my bucket for
Okay.
just me. So I'm thinking rope flow is one of those things currently that's doing that for me because it allows me an opportunity to spend time just with myself, and it's not about anybody else, and it's not about a project I'm trying to get through. It's just me in a process. And so I really like that. I really like the word flow in there.
Mhm. So did you get that flow sensation and how you can explain it maybe?
I do. And certainly the more you do, the more you can flow. Um, and as I've been able to feel as though some of the movement is less challenging, I don't think about it anymore, then it becomes part of a natural kind of movement pattern.
Mhm.
Um,
Does the new kind of challenging ways appear in your flow so that you keep yourself a little bit challenged to be on that edge between the comfort and the challenge?
Absolutely, yes. I think that that's really the only way one can learn is to have that little bit of challenge that is just feels like just that tad bit too hard, but it's attainable. And then you get there, you get through it, and then that broadens up the boundary, so the
Yeah,
boundary becomes, the next thing that you're working on, and it just keeps expanding in that way. Yeah.
yeah. With the consistency, you're adding it up and it grows, 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 grows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And you can
So,
see that with little children, with young children. So when they
mhm,
learn things, they repeat constantly. And they're not fussed about that. They're really happy to repeat things over and over and over and over again. And sometimes I think that adults lose that childlike kind of quality of being happy with that. It's actually a happy, good feeling to repeat something over and over and over again to have a feeling of mastery. Um, Young
yeah, I
children.
get. Does it differentiate from children to children, or is like what I wanna ask is, does it depend on the personality of the children, or is it all of them have certain level of it?
I think they all do. And I think that primarily, if we just step out of the way of a child and don't get in their way, then they will explore what they need to explore in their own time. Um, the other day, one of the small children I work with, she is 18 months old and she wanted to put her shoes on herself. And she's at that stage where that's she does not want any help. She doesn't want an adult to interfere. And so
Hmm.
the putting on of the shoe is actually a very challenging thing to do. It's quite difficult. But her concentration on that was just so beautiful. And and without the interruption, she's not frustrated. She just keeps trying. And then maybe she gets the shoe on and she throws it off again, right? And then she tries to put it on again, or she tries to put the other one on. And it's just beautiful. That's how
Yeah,
we it'd be great
it
if we could
sounds
feel that
lovely.
way.
It
Yeah.
sounds lovely. So I wonder at what point people actually want way more guidance and just get ripped of that sensations and feelings of discovering and experiencing something new that you like, oh, that that's how it works. Like I figure it out. I know that it's like you can do that, but how to do it, and we want like detailed explanation and everything like that. So when it's that shift happens.
Hmm. Well, I think that in my experience of trying to teach others something, um, it's and I've taught dance and movement to people and to non-dancers, people who are not dancers. Um, I find that if you provide enough information that a person can feel that they're getting somewhere, but not overdo it, not put not because movement is its own language. And
Yes.
so often the only way to learn to discover that language is to do the movement. Yeah, to move. And so words can get in the way of that a little bit. Oh, you lift your elbow this, and then, you know,
No, it
sometimes,
can create so much stress for a person that
yeah,
is
yeah,
not necessary. And yeah, those like going to the details, it's most of the time it's actually what I experience as a coach teacher. It's actually worsening the experience. Like sometimes you need to make that correction, but what I figured out, it's uh you need to kind of explain. The words come in here to explaining the intention and what we're trying to achieve, and the person creates it and in certain kind of restrictions. So if you want to like when we create certain like pattern of movement, we create a box that where we can move, but like but it's not gonna be the same to the next person because we are like our body is different, our length of our bones are different, so we're going to look different. And I really hate that in fitness industry, that's like, oh, your like joint angle should be like that and that, like, but it's not possible for like a like taller person because like his bone is way longer at that point, and the angle is changes completely. And it's like, come on, you cannot like just put everything in like such a small like structure is, I know, thing that we want to put. So, and
yeah,
it's all about creating that environment that people can actually discover and thrive.
yeah, exactly. Obviously, if someone is likely to injure themselves, then one needs to give more information about how to prevent that. But yeah, I mean, I often struggle to give some with some of my students, they will ask really specific questions about how something's done, but I know that the answer isn't going to help them. They just need to keep doing it. And so,
Maybe the question will help at that point.
precisely, that's right. It's actually the question for themselves, not for me, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I noticed even in the Octomoves community, and sometimes people ask, and it's like, okay, let's wait. I'm not going to reply it. And like, and you get a second comment like after like a day or two. It's like, oh, I got it. Like, you
Yeah.
figure it out. It's like, yeah, that's the point. because you can tell whatever you want. It's like it's not gonna help for them. Just need to kind of be with that idea, think with it, think a little bit longer, and it's like, oh, that's when we found it and discovered it. And it's actually a little bit connects with that point that you talked about the girl trying to learn the how to put the shoe. So that
Yeah.
we a bit into that, but we actually when we go, a lot of people and grow up, we want to like, oh, give me the instructions from 1 2 3 4 5 6, like what I needed, like in the exact way how I need it. But you're not going to make it in that way, first of all. And like, where's the joy of the process learning things? So
Yeah.
just trying to skip it and like rushing through the life without noticing what's happening and like enjoying it. And I'm bringing this to that you mentioned that some correction required for it to get not injured. But if bot is capable to get in certain positions, well, it has a ability to do so. If we get injured, it's usually because we did it. Wait, it's too fast. We didn't been aware of what we're doing. Our focus was off. Uh, if we certainly want to get in like some deep position, but our body is not ready yet, you need to kind of go back, feel what's happening, and get stronger in that position, and you can avoid all the injury. And all of this becomes like to all the structure and awareness with what you're doing here and now, and you can avoid all of those injuries, and you can learn a lot of things.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I know you're a good teacher because you said like a key thing, that you listen a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
do a lot of talking.
most of young like trainers, what I notice, like we keep saying something, giving advice, and so on, and it's like it's not necessary. You just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Shut up and listen. Like, if you want them to do, just show it, to tell like 2 tips, and just watch and let them do it. Just listen a little bit. It's like, like
Yeah.
giving them space, because like for you in the mind, it feels like, oh, it's like it's been a minute and we just don't know what we're doing. It was a minute and you've been doing maybe like 10 years of some things. So just listening and asking the right questions is the greatest teachers, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Listening and observation and having a good, well-prepared environment. Yeah, for learning. Yeah, being well prepared. Yeah.
So how does your rope flow practice looks like? Do you have any sort of idea or structure, or just overall?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm beginning to form a structure of sorts, where um, some days I just can't seem to do the work, the flow, because maybe I've just worked many hours, and by the time I get home, I'm a little bit depleted. Um,
Mm.
but um, I have been able to try and circumvent that by just going straight outside and doing some rope flow. It doesn't even have to be very long, just a bit. Um, but on other days when I have a bit more time, I like to do maybe some watching of the videos in the beginner's course, reviewing those. I'm going through that course very slowly, and I review them, and I look at how it's happening, and I do that. But then in the evening, I'll do just my own flow out in the back garden with the music on and just dance around and play. Yeah.
And see it where it takes you.
Yeah, that's right. So it's kind of like what I've done in the morning can can consolidate in some way throughout the day. And then when I come back to it again in the evening, there's just something else that's my body has gained some knowledge somehow. Yeah.
Sweet. Any benefits that you notice from row flow?
Yes. So I have a very, very old back injury, which is in the mid thoracic area of my back. And that's like from a billion years ago. Um, but I've lived with it, since my mid 20s to now. And I'm always looking for things that will help me loosen up my spine and keep my spine mobile. And this has been
Hmm.
doing that beautifully. So I really like when I can feel that that part of my back is activated and working, and it it um it helps my lower back a lot too, which also I experience some pain in that area. So yeah, good.
That's awesome. Yeah, in theory, I think is that we actually want the low back stable
Hmm,
and the thoracic, like upper back, more mobile.
right.
But yeah, usually it's flipped over, and that's why people are having like aches and pains. And this is what one of the many reasons that can be.
Yeah.
But that's what I know. It's like because we are sitting like slouched, and we get like our low back really kind of extended to opposite direction when it's naturally is the curvature, so that it gets like hypermobile at that point, and something
Mm,
on the side, hips and thoracic, needs to stabilize because of that. But actually hips supposed to be really mobile, and the thoracic spine and the low back should be like really like tight and strong. Not the tight, like that's probably a bad word, but well, it needs to have like structural integrity within,
mm,
if you
yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Um,
Recently,
uh,
a few weeks ago, I went and I did a Baroque dance workshop in Sydney. And I was reminded of this wrapping that occurs in the core to sort of keep you
like a belt.
up. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, where have I been? I forgot about that. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
beautiful just to
what I like
be
to
reminded.
think about it, it's the crown. So let's imagine that we having
Yeah.
a crown, and in the middle of it, it just like have a hook and lift yourself up. So it kind of brings your spine to the natural position, lifts up everything. It feels like you're all the muscle, everything kind of lifts you up from the like hips and down. You can actually sit with your hips in your legs and feel like really that structural balance, which is it's just really relaxing, actually, just
Mm,
to stand in that position and feel that nice erected posture.
mm.
It just gives you more energy, and it's like more clarity in your mind. It's like everything feels like that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's like our
Yeah.
posture affects us a lot. Like if you start slouching, you don't want to do many things. Maybe energy is getting lower, and it's all about all the systems working together. This like you probably like uh I know it restricts some blood flow or lymphatic system movement somewhere, and that's why we need kind of open up and take up as much space as we can, but collect it within, inside as much as we can, and not get scattered and lost our attention, awareness everywhere around, because that's where we're losing ourselves. If we
Yeah.
kind of dissolve. So basically, I saw like a video of slow motion, somebody dropping a die in the water, and in the beginning you see like this like real condense and it dissolves,
Yeah.
but if you rewind it, it gets all into core. So that's what we are always constantly doing. We're trying to get everything into one place and have it in the structure, because if we lose, we dissolve, we die, we get burned or we buried, and we dissolve. So we actually, you want to have this human body as a container for energy, to keeping yourself into this position, have a good structure, and being aware what's happening. And that's how well we move, while that's we live. So,
Mm. What you're saying reminds me a lot of when I used to study release technique, which is a form of dance movement in which you're moving you're releasing your limbs into space, but your body remains in control.
mhm.
Um, and one of the things that I remember about that is to not is sometimes what people go further than what they really are supposed to go to, and it stops being released. Then it starts being extended and
Yeah,
held.
you start creating tension at some
Yeah.
points because you don't have that balance in the structure, and it's trying to reach. And yeah, there's a lot of tension starts created in your body, and you're losing that relaxing, releasing uh, sensation, even if you're taking like a lot of space around you.
So I think about that a little bit when I do rope flow because I'm thinking about range of motion
Hmm.
and um, like energy, the amount of energy it might require to do something. And so then I do play around with that a little bit, like, oh, what happens if I use a little less energy and the energy is from my hips or some other area, and then what happens to my arm as a result? Yeah,
Yes, yes. Oh,
yeah,
I love that kind of practice, like feeling what's happening in your foot, and like through your whole body and the hands, like where you initiate the movement, where it ends up, like how effortless I can create it, and like, or how I can change speeds in the various cycle of the pattern. So there's so much ways how you can play with it, and like explore and be be curious what's happened if I just slightly do something, and does it takes me out of my like strong balance position. It's like what we actually
mm,
should always think, like it's from martial arts. I don't know where I heard it, but I guess we need to keep ourselves in the box, in the box that where we standing, and we are moving only over there. Like even martial arts is when we're striking, we're not trying to reach forwards and lean, because that's where you lose all the balance. And this is
yeah,
actually really really good for me to understand from surfing, because
mm,
if you just bend yourself within the hips, not trying to reach or to rotate it, that's when you fall. That's like right away you're like your base of support gets like kind of behind of your head or in front of your head, and your head just falls over there. You cannot collect yourself. Like sometimes maybe if you squat really low really fast, at that point you can collect yourself
yeah,
above the bit of support, which is the surfboard on the water, which is also not stable.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so that's, we always want to have like our head is in that square or circle above our kind of feet, hips, shoulders. We have a little bit over there where we can move. Our hands can go further to reach it out. But if we kind of, when we propel ourselves forward, it's a good idea to think, even with the rope flow, it's a good idea to think about how I move my hips. So what is the rest on top of it moves together.
mm, mm. Having a sense of play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that this was mix and match of ideas in this
mm.
my TED talk. So, Karen, I want to ask you an advice for us, for community, for me, for you want to give for humanity?
Oh, wow. That's a bit much.
No, just realize for a community.
Well, I guess the takeaway from our chat tonight might be listening. And so that listening is also to your own body and listening to what's occurring within you, inside you, have it bring things to an internal focus so that you're listening to what's happening.
So listen. Listen.
Listening. Yes.
Lovely, Karen. Thank you for joining me here today. It was pleasure talking with you, and may the flow be with you.
Yes, may the flow be with you as well. I'm sure it always is.